Welcome to the Strong Life Coach podcast, where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, longtime friend, Eric Nuncio, CEO, founder, and owner of LionLife. This program is helping to train the youth, not just with basketball skill, but even molding the next generation. Then you have an apparel line. You did college basketball in Incarnate Word, professional basketball in Mexico for 3 to 4 years with the LNBP. Welcome to the show, E.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. How's your day going so far?
It's doing great, man. Just had me a good little lunch. Had to come by here.
Hey, well, good, man.
It's a blessing to be up here.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to come. I think I told you earlier, but when I think about you and your brand, I think about tenacity. I think about passion. I think about focus. I think about determination. And even as you and I have got together and have talked, I think about perseverance and what you've overcome. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your time, spending a little time together, sharing about your journey.
Yes, sir.
So I know a lot of your brand is already connected with me, and it's hit me. And I'm excited that the people that tune in are going to be able to be affected and influenced by what you have to say.
Man, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's good that I got someone here that really wants to pretty much know what's going on and what the purpose is of what I've started and what I want in the future and in the past and everything that's happened, and
yes,
I want to continue kind of get better every time.
We were talking earlier, like there's an idea where people might see the finished product, but they don't know the journey.
Right.
But the journey contributes to the finished product. So when it comes to you, I know, I think I probably have early memories of you from high school basketball. You were playing at Taft. Tell us a little bit about, maybe we'll cover your basketball journey and then we'll segue into LionLife.
Okay, cool.
Tell us about the high school basketball experience for you.
So high school basketball was actually a very critical time in my life for the simple fact that I was going through so much personally, away from, it was bigger than what just, most kids in high school just have to wake up, play sports, go to school and stuff. And mine was a little different. I was, facing a lot of issues that were going on health-wise with my parents or, my guardians, to where I just couldn't just focus on basketball. I had to, kind of focus on a lot of other things that were going around that has, pretty much for your mental.
Sure.
And so it was a little tough for me, having to play sports and still have to kind of keep things, intact with what I was going. But it kind of helped me build, what I wanted to do in the platform of what I'm doing now. That time in my life kind of triggered everything to where it's at now. So playing sports, basketball, that was like my home away from home. There would be so many things going on away from it, the sport. And when I'm playing basketball, that's all I think about. I forget about my problems, forget about everything that's going on. So I was constantly finding myself at the park or, just shooting around and, playing people in my head one-on-one.
Right. A little shadow, dribbling and crossover, yeah.
Right, yes.
Now, when did you first start seeing yourself elevated as far as seeing yourself stand out from the competition?
I started to see it probably when I, maybe around 10th grade.
Okay.
I had moved to Missouri. My mom, my stepfather was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, and my mom moved. My family moved to Missouri with my stepdad, and I stayed back with my grandparents just because I was very attached with my grandparents growing up. That's who raised me. So at one point I had to move to Missouri because my mom had got really sick. My mom had cancer, so she had got really sick in Missouri, and I moved from school. So I was at Taft for a little bit. I ended up moving to school in Waynesville, Missouri, and I went to school out there, and that's what really made me realize that what I have, I get the skill that I have in basketball and the game that I bring is I went to another place and it kind of picked up where it just picked up where I left off. I didn't have to work. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have to work for what it was, but my game spoke for itself, and so that kind of got me confident in knowing my game is pretty where I need to be. Yeah.
So for you, if you did it in Texas and then you did it in Missouri, you're like, hold on, I didn't just stand out in San Antonio, but I'm standing out over here as well.
Right.
So if these two places are saying the same thing, then it has to be some truth in it as far as my skill being at the next level.
Right. So when my mom got a little bit better, I came back home because my heart was in San Antonio playing with the friends that I grew up with and stuff. But when I came back, I just came back with a different confidence, like just knowing like, hey, this is kind of the start of what I want to do, And so that's what actually really helped me, was being in different places and getting the same respect.
Yes. Right. Now, with everything, so I'm sorry to hear about what your mom has been through. I know you and I've talked about it before, but seeing that, what was your support system back then? Like, how many people knew what you were going through off the court?
Honestly, here in town, I have a really good close group of friends that I grew up with. That we were growing up together. They kind of know, because they were around so much. They know kind of what I went through, and it's crazy. Some of these guys now are playing overseas. Some of them, got their kids playing, and they got their own jobs going now. But they've always been the ones that's been in my corner and knowing what I was capable of doing. And then moving to Missouri, I had a couple of other friends that kind of the same thing. Sure. Like they kind of helped me and kind of push me to where I needed to be, as far as I needed to be, confidence wise and mentally, to kind of get where I want to get to, as far as what I'm doing now.
So you went from Taft to Missouri, right. And then when did you make your way back?
So I went to Taft my whole ninth grade year, and then towards the end of my ninth grade year, I went up with my mom because she started to get sick. And I was out there, probably for the rest of the season. for the rest of the year. And then the beginning of the year, I came back to San Antonio. I started at Taft probably for about 3-4 days. And then 3 or 4 days into my 10th grade year, my mom got ill again. So I went out there because the time that I went out there, the doctors were saying that she wasn't going to, make it for, too much longer. So I wanted to live out there with her. And so I went out there from 10th grade all the way up until the Christmas break of 10th grade. And then I came back home for a break, and I just couldn't leave. I couldn't go back. So I just ended up staying here and finishing my whole career here in town. So that's pretty much that.
And how did your high school career shape up on the court?
On the court, it was like, I think that I could have been better, simply because I had a lot of things that were going on, So like my focus wasn't always where it needed to be, But I'm pleased with where it got me, Like I met lifelong friends, and it's helped me to where get into college for free, things like that. So there's something that I can't really complain too much about. So I feel like it's done me pretty well. My high school career was pretty good.
There we go. Now, you mentioned college, so I know you and I were briefly together at St. Philip's College. Right. I think that was where you first told me about your mom.
Right.
And your mom has had, and so your mom's doing well now.
She's doing a lot better.
Okay.
My mom is a survivor. So when I got to college, like my mom had cancer when she was 19 years old. Wow. And that's when she had me. So she had it at a young age, so it's kind of hard. It was hard for her, and then the odds were always against her, but she's always overcame the odds and, made it happen. So when I was at St. Philip's, I had went to school in Oklahoma, and my mom had got sick again.
Oh,
so like
okay.
my thing is like, I love basketball and I love, playing the game, but if I wasn't right there mentally, I would, I want to try to get things right. So when I went to school in Oklahoma, my mother got real sick, and it brought me back home. So when I came back home, I didn't want to give up on going to school, so I just went to like community colleges here in town. So I went to probably every community college you could think of in town. And then the following year, I ended up getting a scholarship to Incarnate Word.
How did that materialize and come about? Because Oklahoma recruited you from high school,
right?
And then you're in Oklahoma.
So it was a junior college in Oklahoma, okay. Connor State, and I went out there, and man, there was probably like 238 people in the town.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I was like already kind of losing my mind, and then when that happened, it was kind of like the icing on the cake. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go home.
Yes.
And so when I came home, like I said, I was going to community college, but I was playing in different leagues and playing around in different places. And some of the college coaches that were in Incarnate Word, his name's Javase Kearney. He was always in the leagues as well, still playing and stuff. So he ended up seeing me, and saying like, "Hey man, how many years do you have left?" And I told him, "Man, I got all my years." So he ended up telling me like, "Hey, well look, if you can get your hours to where they need to be, we will promise you a scholarship." So like, that's when I was going to them community colleges, getting all them hours in, and they kept their promise. So I had to.
So it was somebody who was playing in the league that you were playing in, saw you stand out, and then that's where you got recruited from.
Right.
So it says something that, with especially with what you're doing to training these young kids, where you just never know who's playing with you or who's watching.
100%.
And then it being able to pay for school is a huge blessing, a huge help.
Yeah, and Incarnate Word isn't cheap, so
right.
I had to get through all them hours. I know my last year there, I took like 21 hours just so I can get done with.
21 hours in a semester?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was tough.
Craziness. Now, at Incarnate Word, how did it go on the court at Incarnate Word?
At Incarnate Word, the thing at Incarnate Word, I went there twice. So I went there in 2005, my first time. It was cool. I loved it. I didn't get along with the coach too much. So like I said, when I first came in, the assistant coach brought me in.
Got it.
So, it's kind of different when you kind of get involved with the assistant coach, and then, you got the head coach who has his eyes on someone else maybe, and it just didn't work out the first time that I went there. Yeah. So after 2005, I ended up switching and going to junior college again, which was in Lufkin, Texas, Angelina. And I ended up playing there for a semester, and then I came home back, and when I came back, Incarnate Word had a new coach. And his name's Kim Burmeister, and Javase Kearney was still there.
He was still there.
Yeah. So when I came back, he was like, "Hey, E, we got a new coach, so it might be a better fit for you." And it was like being, having Coach Burmeister, and there was a blessing,
Yes.
And the good thing about him is he always, one thing he always told me that stuck with me is like he always saw me going everywhere. My life was going, like I was always on the move. So he's like, "Eric, you need to simplify your life,"
Right.
And so and I still to this day, I'll fall back and be like, I just got to simplify things, like moving too fast,
Make
But it's just because of where I've, what the journey that I've taken to get where I'm at now.
So. Now, you mentioned the problem with the first coach. So looking back, right? So you were in your early 20s.
Right, early 20s. And then
20s. So we're you and I are you 33 as well?
I'm 33. Yeah.
So we're both 33. So the maturity you've gained over the years, when you look back at that first coach, would you see that there was more him or was more you, or how do you see it now?
I could say it was both. Okay. He got fired.
So you're like,
he got
there's
fired.
evidence against the guy.
He was giving guys medicine he wasn't supposed to be giving.
Okay.
Like, it was a character,
Okay.
But at the same time, like I was young, I had braids in my hair. Nothing against that, but I'm just saying, like I was trying to do an image, like looking at Iverson, trying to,
right.
I didn't see the bigger picture of where I was. Until now that I'm older, it's like, man, I probably could have did things a little differently.
Right. So, okay, tell me about what happened there, because I know you mentioned you went from Incarnate Word to, you said Leflin?
Lufkin, Texas.
Lufkin, I've never heard
Angelina.
of it.
Yeah, it's like it's in East Texas. Like,
so you're at Incarnate Word. How does Leflin, Texas even come about?
Oh my God! So, actually, one of my friends from high school, he played for a coach in junior college. And after I left Incarnate Word, the friend of mine, which he graduated from Taft as well from me, he kind of helped me get into the school with his old coach. So I was there, they brought me in and helped me go for that one semester, and then I came back home. And I kind of signed with Incarnate Word, but I had to do my hours all over again. So I had to get probably 14 hours before they can offer me a scholarship. So that's when I started digging in deep and going hard into the community colleges and trying to get my hours up so that I can have a scholarship. So in 2006, I ended up getting a scholarship and finishing my career there at Incarnate Word.
At Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was So I mean, we're just like touching on
Yeah.
your experience all over. So it was high school, San Antonio, Missouri, San Antonio, college, Oklahoma, back
San
to
Antonio,
San Antonio, little community college, then Incarnate Word, then Lufkin,
then Lufkin,
Lufkin,
and then back to San Antonio.
back to San Antonio, Incarnate
Yeah,
Word to finish
right.
there. All right, so tell us about what the again, how was it on the court for you back at Incarnate Word with the new head coach?
At that time is when I came in and I was more focused on,
Yeah.
I was kind of like, man, E, you're on your last string. Like
Yeah.
if it don't work here, you're gonna be done. So the blessing that I had is that I took it like that. I took it as like, this is my last time that I have an opportunity to kind of make something of myself in this basketball. So I kind of just took it for what it was, whether it was negatives going on, which there was negatives going on at the time of me playing basketball. I'm not gonna say it was all peaches and cream.
Sure.
It was some challenges that I had to overcome, but it was all worth it. Just because I know that I was playing with a second chance. A lot of people some people weren't offered a second chance.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so it was more better, and then my mom's health kind of got a little bit better.
Okay.
My grandparents were doing well.
Mhm.
I actually had my son in college, so it was just kind of a blessing. Like I was playing for a bigger purpose when I got there.
Okay, there we go. Now, for people that are tuning in, I imagine your audience is are people focused on basketball or people coming up, even the kids in your program. I'm thinking about they're tuning in. What do you have for them as far as from a basketball experience in high school? Like, hey, like what as you think about your program, what do you try to take from your experience at high school basketball and college basketball and instill into the next group coming up?
Well, the thing that I was lucky to have is that I had a great high school basketball coach, Mike Osterman. He was a really strict coach. Like I heard before I got there, he was really hard on his players. But I really, I love him for the fact that how he approached me and kind of saw the things that were going on in my life.
Yeah.
We've had many conversations where he'd pull me out of class and we'd have a talk, and he kind of got to see the real me. He talked to my mom. So there was things that he saw and helped me kind of, there's some coaches that really don't care, they just want to, get their check and go. But he really showed me, he changed his kind of coaching, the way he coaches, his techniques and things that he did, and kind of bended some type of rules for me, just for me to be confident and mentally, and just because he know how much I liked to play basketball and how much, I was just a gym rat. And I don't think any coach would really do that, like kind of give love to a player that he has just because he knows the background of what's going on, and so that helped me helped me start pretty much, what I'm doing now and where I am now and what I was doing then to kind of keep going is that I had good people around me at the time that I was doing it. And then going to college, that's why when I went to college, the first time I went to college, I was probably spoiled with my high school coach, just knowing the care that he had and, the things. So when I first went to college, it was a little different. I didn't get that same love when I first went there. It was kind of like, well, yeah, you're having problems, but you still got to deal with it. Who cares, Rather than, hey, E, I know you got problems, just relax, kind of do your, I'm here for you, whatever. And sometimes, like, as a kid and me growing, I needed to hear that, what I'm saying? Like, I needed to be like, yo, you're okay, because there was sometimes where I did want to quit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I was like, man, I don't know if I can keep playing. I just need to, go get a job and take care of my family. And
Wow.
help them,
I mean, everything you were going through, everything your mom was going through.
Right.
And then brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I'm the second of 11.
Second of 11.
Yeah.
That's a rare, in our generation.
Right.
But right. So that temptation to want to, even as the male, as to be a provider and to help out, I could see it and imagine it being a tough pull to want to, like, maybe I should be doing something different.
Right.
But as you and I were talking about, like, there's a component of understanding your calling.
Right.
And it's cool to see it outside looking in. When you think about the transition, so you had, correct me if I'm wrong, what you were able to achieve at Incarnate Word. You have some kind of record or something.
Well, it's actually did. In 2007 they passed my record, but it was I played in Incarnate Word for 2 years, like strong. And I was the leading assist holder of all time there in 2 years.
In 2 years,
in 2
okay,
years,
big
yeah.
time. Okay,
I had a great shooter in Pierce Caldwell. He's from San Antonio as well, and then I had some bigs. Tracy Robinson, he's from Sam Houston, and Juwan Bailey. You know, some guys that I was just feeding the ball to that kind of helped me get to that status, what I got. And then in 2017, a kid from Houston, Mitchell Badillo, beat it. You know, he was there for 4 years, but you know, I expected them to beat it.
Right. But it's still big time.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have almost passed over without you even mentioning it, which I appreciate your humility about it. Not like, hey, you know, let me put my best foot forward, let everybody know about my accolades. But that's a big time, and it's a big time achievement to be able to have that. So you were there. What years were you at?
So I started in Incarnate Word in 2005. Then I left to Lufkin and Angelina in 2006. Came back in 2006, the end of 2006, 2007.
Okay.
So I ended up playing there 2007, 2008, and 2008, 2009, and I graduated 2010.
Okay, so then 2009, then you got. So you had the record for 8 years. You did 2017.
Right, yeah.
That's a big time.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. It's big time. Well, good. So then you graduated, and what was your response of your family to your graduation?
From college? Man, it was. I was the first person to graduate from college.
Come on, let's go.
So I was the first person to graduate from college in my family. So it was big.
Yeah.
But like my life has been during my graduation, I was going through so much, you know. So I was learning, you know, I was barely getting introduced to life. I was having my son, so it was tough for me, you know, working while having a son and taking 21 hours at the time I was doing. It was just tough. So my family was very helpful within the whole process of me, you know, having to graduate, and they're a big part of that.
Yes.
Without them, I probably wouldn't.
Right,
I would have not finished, you know.
It's a beautiful thing to leave a legacy, and it's start a new tradition and a new trend as far as for everybody else coming up. And I'm thinking about that. I have some great family members that have set that tradition for me. You know, I wasn't the first, but I want to keep continuing the tradition. You know, like even some family members, you know, they got masters. Okay, well, let me think about that. And you know, started a master's program last year, but there's something about somebody who starts the legacy. Who's going to do it first?
Right.
And that's what you were able to do for your family, which is a powerful thing. And you mentioned 11 brothers and sisters, seeing your example and focusing on your education and using basketball to get you there, which is it's a powerful thing. So we go from Incarnate Word, graduation. You mentioned your son. Now, a lot of people talk about having that first child shapes them and molds them. How did that influence you?
Having my son was also a blessing, just simply because, like, you know, having like you said, having someone, your first son or your first child is an eye opener in anything you do. That's what really drove me to kind of get focused and finish. I mean, having my son, I feel like if I didn't have my son, with all the things that were going on in my life, I could have easily went a different route and did things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. Not saying that I never did, but for the bigger picture, I probably would be stuck today, you know, had I not had my son at the time that I did, because I had to grow up fast, you know.
Sure.
Like you know, like you can see my whole high school career, and even before then, I was always going through personal issues away from the sport, you know. So having my son kind of gave me a kind of thing where it's like, well, suck it up. Whatever you're going through, you got to go through. You know, like there's nothing you can do. There's someone that's living for you now. So whatever you're going through, it's always been there. So now you just got to keep pushing, you know. And so he helped me push through a lot of things, you know, as far as handling what I had to, like, you know, so some days I'm taking 21 hours. I got to go to school Monday through Saturday, you know, pretty much all day, then go to practice and then come home, take care of him.
Wow.
I don't have enough time to get a job, so I'm sitting there finding ways to kind of support, you know. So it was tough, you know, but it was all for a bigger picture that, you know, because since then a lot of things have been happening, but it's kind of like nothing compared to at the time what that was, you know. Now I have 3 kids, so
right there we go. And one of the beautiful things I think about us having this conversation, us recording it, it's one of those things where I love the idea of like little E hearing this, you know, one day, whether that's sooner or later,
Right.
and hearing the way his dad talks about how it shaped him, and it shaped his dad's life in his presence coming into the picture,
Right.
which is a powerful thing. So you got your son, graduated 2010. 2010, is that when your journey picked up as far as professionally, or how did that?
So right after like around 2010, it did it, man. Like honestly, around 2010 is when I started to kind of go a different route. You know, I could have went right or I could have went left. In 2010, I felt like after I graduated from college, I had to stay in college 1 year doing nothing, pretty much just to graduate. So I wasn't playing sports because I had no more years eligible. So I had to just go to school, and like that year was the wake up call of like, man, like I can't use me playing sports anymore because I'm not playing sports. I didn't, you know, I'm here in school. I got to go get a job now. I got to start doing things a little bit different now. So it kind of made me feel like, hey, you know, you got to do things the way you have to do things. Period. Like it is what it is. You didn't make it. Now you got to make something of yourself. You know, and I feel like that right there was difficult because my whole life, all I ever thought about was playing basketball. I didn't think like people could be like, well, what do you want to do if you don't make it? You know, people used to ask you that, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna make it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna make it. So, like my thing was that. So when it didn't happen to where I wanted it to happen, like I went left. You know, like I kind of got lost for a little bit. I started doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing, hanging around with people I wasn't supposed to be hanging around with. You know, like going from a leader to a follower kind of thing. And I think at the time of me doing that, being a follower helped me be a better leader. You know what I mean? It kind of showed me like, man, this is not where I want to be, and this is not what I work for. This is not what my grandfather and my mom, the struggles that they went through, they wanted, you know, it's for a bigger thing for me to do, which and so around 2010 is when I started playing just in leagues around the city. I got in one league at Lifetime Fitness. And I started playing up there, and I ended up getting like really good friends. One of my good friends who I started to, he's like my mentor, which is Antonio Daniels. He kind of brought me under his wing, and he kind of knows a little bit about my life, and was like, man, I'm here. You know, he was already towards the end of his NBA career. He was still, I think he was with the Sixers for a little bit at the time, and he was still playing. He was with the Wizards at the time, and he was still playing and doing his. But he would come and still kind of check up and, you know, kind of put me in the places where I needed to be. So in the summer, I would work out with him all summer and kept playing, you know. Then there was a league going on at Lifetime that I joined, and I started playing in that league. And I was leading the league in points and stuff like that. So Malik Rose was in it, Michael Finley, George Hill. A lot of NBA players were in it.
And you were leading the league with all those guys in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like
big time.
When that happened, that opened up a lot more opportunities for me. So I ended up, Antonio was helping me out, and then Michael Finley ended up kind of bringing me in and invited me to like Spurs workouts and NBA workouts and stuff like that. And then I ended up meeting Sean Marks, who was on the coaching staff of the Spurs, and he kind of kept me in the calls and kind of got me, you know, around the organization. So it kind of was like looking up from there, you know.
Right.
And then
especially you're outscoring George Hill, Malik Rose, Antonio Daniels in the league.
See,
yeah.
So like, and then so when I did that, man, it kind of put things in perspective of like, yeah, you know what, this is what I want to do. Like even if I don't play, or if I, you know, if wherever my career is taking me, I know that being around basketball or being around the sport it's helped me, you know, tremendously. And I know that it can help other people, you know, even if it's little things, you know. You don't even have to be a player at times. You could just be around people who can help, you know, and then that's helped me do the same thing. Like my thing is just, I just want to help. I just want to, you know, put people in position to be where they need to be, you know.
I love the story of Antonio Daniels taking you under his wing and being a positive influence, and him knowing what was happening. I relate with my story. I don't know how much I've told you my story, but my dad, my mom sat my brother and I down when I was 17. My younger brother was 15, and she told us that she said your dad shot himself and he killed himself. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
and going through that as a junior in high school, it's it rocked my world, right? I remember failing off the track team, failing pre-cal with a 17, failing Spanish with a 40, and I remember sleeping pretty much till lunchtime, and then going to school at lunch, and I was kind of hoping to wake up to a different reality where my dad was still around, and I remember coming back to like these questions of, did he have joy? Did he have peace? Did he have hope at the end of his life? And questions I'll never really be able to answer. It doesn't seem likely that he did, but I began thinking about my life and the people that were around me and the decisions I was making. And I remember one of my buddies, Pedro. He had been trying to work with me for a while, and he had saw potential, and he had wanted to help me, ultimately, to change my life, and it brought me back to that question of joy. Do I want joy and peace and hope in my life? And to your point of, do I want to help other people around me to be there? But it's such a powerful thing when we have positive role models who are willing to give us the time and the focus to be able to build us up into our potential.
Right. And that's man, I couldn't imagine dealing with that at the age that you dealt with. Yeah, that's kudos to you for getting through that, man.
It's like what you said though, right? I look back at every single thing I've overcome, and now those are badges almost, not like honor, but it's evidence. I've been through that, and I've been through other things. Those are all evidence for me. I know what I could get through. So whatever problem I'm facing today, most of the time it's a lot less than my dad's suicide. Right. So, but I've already conquered that one. I've been through it. I know how to deal with it. Not saying that the pain is over. I still wrestle with the anger. There's anger and there's sadness. I feel it like in February when he passed. I feel it more during our birthdays in September. I feel it more during Father's Day. I feel that more, the pain of him being gone. But I know how to deal with it. I know how to navigate that trouble and maneuver through that difficulty. So, but now anything I face, it's always compared to that.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, I can face this.
Right.
No matter what it is, it's typically smaller. The fascinating part of the journey is in 5 years after that, it was my aunt told me that it seems like he was killed versus suicide, which is a different kind of thing to deal with. Similar, but different. But still, I had already learned how to deal with something traumatic,
right? And
it helped me. But yeah. So I don't wish it on anybody, but there, in an odd way, there came gratitude for the experience because it gives me confidence in my present.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I can look at it like that. That's awesome.
Now, so you were getting connected with the Spurs, and what materialized there?
So really relationships. Me just being around the Spurs kind of got me around people that are lifelong friends now. Like I said, Antonio Daniels, we speak almost daily. Michael Finley, Corey Joseph, even Kawhi. Because when Kawhi came, the year he came in and the year that I was working out with them was 2011 during the lockout year. So I was always up at the gym with them playing and just kind of seeing, the way that they've kind of progressed and, them showing me the respect that I feel like I deserve in this sport, kind of made me realize I know that I know I can help other people. Just like they help me, there's some people that I can help.
That's right.
I'm not saying I didn't make it because in reality I didn't make it as far as to the NBA, the bigger picture. But I feel like I made it because it's a blessing to be able to still be able to pick up a ball and do whatever I want. I can go play. I can run circles around anybody, I feel like, to this day. But I cut my career short just to kind of teach the game. So in my mind, I expect people to kind of listen. If I see someone out there playing ball and they could still, like Antonio Daniels at the time, he was still out there playing and still doing it, and he took time out to come talk to me. That meant a lot to me. It's kind of like, man, you didn't have to. Right. You don't have to show this time. You don't have to do that. And that kind of made me realize, hey, I got something left out here. So the being with the Spurs in 2011 kind of jump started my career as far as playing other places, like which I played in Mexico for on and off for about 3 or 4 years. I got my passport out from out there because I'm dual citizenship, and ended up playing there. Never got really huge money, so. But at the same time, it was never for that. Like I wasn't worried about money. I just wanted to play, But then as time and life got longer, and then life got I got a little older, and my kids are getting older. I had to kind of put things in perspective of like, yo, you can't just do this for fun no more. Like you got to be able to support your family. So that's what brought me back home to do what I'm here doing now, which is the LionLife. You feel so
now, which definitely want to talk about LionLife, but your experience in Mexico, what did you notice on the court and off the court, and how the game changed from one level to the next? Because at this point, you played in high school, college, and at the professional level, you played with leagues with some of the NBA guys, and then you're in Mexico. What was the transition in competition like?
The competition's pretty much the same as you go anywhere else. There's people that know how to play all around the world. It's dealing with a different thing. It's more political. So as far as like the basketball perspective, it was a lot tougher because being American, not growing up in that country, and then barely starting off my career, it's kind of like I had to prove myself all over again. No matter who or what, or I went in without an agent every time. I've never had an agent ever in my life, so everything was pretty much always on my own. So it was tough. Just it wasn't all about basketball. I had to kind of all the stuff that I've went through kind of helped me, kind of get through it. And then when it became less about basketball and more, about financial, is when I kind of fell back. Like it kind of was like, yo, well, I guess this is the ending for me, because financially speaking, like just being 100%, I never really got a big check out of basketball. Never did. But the crazy thing is, I never really expected one. I would have played in the NBA for free. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to play.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, I just love the game.
Yeah.
I just wanted to play. So, but when life started to, I had my third child, I had to kind of change things going, to kind of think of reality.
Yes.
Which that was the main thing of changing as far as like the game. Like I can play. I know that I can play anywhere. Like as far as I can play any level. I know that I've, like Antonio Daniels told me, like one time I asked him, like, hey, do you think I could play in the NBA? He was like, you easily could play in the NBA. Like you can. So it's like that kind of made me feel a little bit better to hear someone who played in the NBA for 13, 14 years tell me, like, hey, you can do that. So that kind of helped me as well. Kind of helped me feel a little bit better about myself. And then. The work ethic that I bring in this game is I would say second to none when I was really into it. I probably played I would be playing for more than 8-9 hours a day.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Commitment.
Yeah.
Devotion. Yes. Now, so you wrap up in Mexico. Like it's time to come back. San Antonio. Then is that when LionLife started?
Yeah. So when I was in Mexico, I was still kind of focused on sometimes a little bit of the wrong things I wasn't supposed to be doing. So coming home, it was kind of like, I'm not making money here. I got to make some shake somehow. So I started to do things just unorganized, just started to do things out on a wing, and which kind of slowed me down. So when I came back home for a little bit, I was maybe for about 2 years, I was just lost. Like, I was like, man, I'm not making no money. My kids need, this, they need that, and they're getting older. And so it was up until my son started to play. I think he started to play like sports, and I took him out to a Spurs league.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I went out to the Spurs league, I saw him practicing, and like, man, I was pulling the hair out my head. Like, oh my God, what are y'all teaching him? Like,
right.
So it was like, so that's what really kind of opened my vision of doing LionLife as far as the sports part of it. Like when I was in Mexico, and when I came home, I started to do LionLife as far as the brand. is kind of like a job that I created for myself. I didn't see myself working for nobody. I probably worked at a place. I've never worked pretty much at a. I worked at a fast food place probably for like 6 months, maybe.
Sure.
The most that I've ever pretty much had a job like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I've just pretty much just been doing my own, like off my name and what I do and what I've always known doing as far as LionLife and as far as training kids. I was always doing little things like that would keep me over. But LionLife, so when I came back, it was more so like my mental, like you know what, like no matter what, I didn't make it, but I'm still a lion. Like in any jungle, that you bring me, you're gonna be able to feel my presence. You know, so that's what really made me start doing that. And one day, it's exactly what I was. Like I was just sitting in my brother's room, and I was just like, man, I'm a lion. And I was like, like LionLife. I just said it, and then I was like, you know what? And that's how it all came about. One day, I was like, man, and so. The very next day, I ended up meeting up with a friend of mine, and he helped me kind of put a logo together.
Yes.
And he drew my logo, and man, after he drew my logo, it was like, man. So not many people know, but like if you read inside the hair of
the mane,
logo,
right?
The mane, it spells out LionLife.
Right.
So a lot of people were like, man, like so when I did that, that's when I was like, well, I just made like this is like a brand that I can make like apparel and things like that, you know. So that's what really just kind of, it just all put itself together. Like pretty much my whole life of what I was going through in the past and the obstacles that I overcame kind of brought me to a lion, Like that's like a symbol that just kept coming to me.
What I love about the story is I know you've mentioned all the people that have inspired you. And you're listing names because of these are the connections you have, the relationships that you've built. Your mom in dealing with cancer. I think back to the whole lion thing. Like there's a lion mentality there. Who would you say, of course, her helped influence you to embrace the lion life, and where did the inspiration come from?
It came from my grandpa, 100%.
Okay.
Like rest in peace. Like my grandpa died on the day before Halloween.
Sorry to hear about that.
It's I sometimes I kind of get emotional just because he was the main person in my life. Period. He's the inspiration, man. Like he never complained about nothing. Like and I know like he had a lot of things going on. He was the person that kind of just inspired me to do everything I'm doing today. Like even now I'm getting emotional. It's like he did everything for me. And like he's the person that just kind of made me wake up. Like, you know what? Like you ain't gonna give up. Like anything that goes on, So like it's 100% my grandpa.
Yeah. Well, it's powerful. His legacy with you and what you're doing, and I think it's how it lives on, and it's a beautiful thing. I've heard you describe him. Whether it's on social media, and of course I talked to you about it, but he sounds like he was an incredible guy.
Yeah.
So I think about him as, mentor, like all the various roles: father, grandpa, provider, the encourager, the motivator, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
100%.
So I think there are people. I had my mom on the first podcast I ever did, and we're talking and it was the day before Mother's Day, and I'm like, hey Mom, my wife asked, hey, are y'all gonna cry on the show? And because we cry in my family, like I cry like once a week, bro. Like I get, and it's even I think what's happening now is there's this gratitude that moves me more to tears. It's not even anything other than like this gratitude that of all the people I could have got as my mom,
Right.
I got her. And when I asked her favorite Mother's Day memory of her mom, she's talking about my grandma, her mom, and she starts crying. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna share mine, my favorite Mother's Day memory, and I'm sharing about her teaching me how to, ride a bike. And I'm like crying, on the podcast we were recording, and she's crying, and we're just talking about. I'm just grateful, like, for somebody to take the training wheels off and then walk alongside me on that bike and then run alongside me and then let me go. And there's this feeling I get um, of just the people that were picked out for us.
Right.
And of all the men in the world, like God gave you your grandpa, champion, lion, right? Who helped shape you and mold you, and it's the same thing you're doing for all these for the youth coming up.
Right. And the crazy thing with like when my grandfather is that he adopted my mom. So
Whoa.
yeah, so like my grandpa wasn't able to have no kids.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was not allowed to have no kids. I guess
Next level, man.
Yeah. So my mom's mother was she had a baby, which was my mom, and my grandpa couldn't have kids, so she ended up letting my grandfather adopt her. So my grandpa, adopted her like his own, and so my mom having so many kids at the time when she had me, like I said, she was having cancer, so she was going through a lot. So my mom did the same thing that they did, and she gave me to my grandparents. So like growing up, that's all I knew was my grandparents. I grew up with my grandparents. I lived with my grandparents. I was their son. You know what I'm saying? So like I look at my father. I look at him like my grandpa. You know what I'm saying? So it was just it's like what you just said. Like God brought him in my life for a reason. And so like now I'm sitting here, doing everything I'm doing now. Like sometimes I may get off focus or get lose track, but at the end of the day, when I look, it's like, man, I know why I'm here. Like he never complained about nothing. People, I used to look now and I'm like, man, Pop, you do a lot for people. They don't do nothing for you. Like they don't give you nothing. It's like he would always tell me like I do things I don't expect nothing. Like I just do it because this is me. It makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And like that's the same way I feel. Like I just feel like I just do things because I just do it for people, man. I don't care. I feel like I didn't make it in the NBA. Like that was my calling. Like I'm not gonna make no more money than NBA player ever does, unless a miracle happens with my brand or something. But like I'm not out here to be rich. I'm not trying to train kids, or I'm not out here trying to be around the youth to be rich. Like I just want to be able to give back, which is why I'm willing to do that to anybody. You can be a green kid. You don't care if you never know basketball in your life. I feel like I can teach you something.
Yes, you brought up one of the stories that comes along with you. A story that moved me and touched me that I saw materialize. I think it was Rich, who's coaching over at East Central,
right?
And I think he was coaching the freshman team. And he had put on social media about how difficult and challenging it was to cut his first group of people. And then people are responding, sad faces, whatever. But then I remember seeing your response, and you were like, send them to me. Yeah. And that hit me. Just reading your comment, I was like, okay, like, because there's something powerful about being there for the kids, the youth, who are feeling rejected,
right? Who
are feeling less than, who are feeling marginalized, and feeling like the bottom, feeling like trash.
Right. Yeah. Because like growing up, I had a good friend of mine, and he was playing sports. We grew up playing together. I didn't mention this earlier, but the reason why he couldn't play no more is because he had to have kidney transplant, and he had diabetes. He's had a lot of health issues that didn't let him play sports forever, But growing up, he was better than me, Like he was really good, His name's Quentin Johnson, and so like, this kid wanted to play so bad. I remember in 9th grade, his appearance started to change because of his health. So that's what really made me kind of put things in perspective. Like, man, like it's kind of out of his hands,
Yes.
But he ended up getting cut.
He didn't love basketball any less than you.
No, he actually loves basketball more than me. Like even to this day, like he's still alive and he's still going through obstacles. But he even to this day, like if I have something about basketball or if I want to talk to anything about basketball, I call him because I know he knows more than me. Still to this day, And it's just him being around. So it's just little things like that that's kind of brought me and made me feel like I want to help. I want to help kids that have things against them. Like if the odds are against you, I want to help them get your odds get better.
Yes. And
I've like in the process of me doing it, I've had a few kids that have game, like really good game, and they come around and I want to put all the time I have with them because they love the game. But it's kind of like the ones that want to be there and the ones that want to get better are the ones that means more to me. It might helping them because like I know like through my career and me playing, I know basketball. Like I've had second chances, I've had third chances. You know what I mean? So it's to the point where it's like this ain't for everybody. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be a point in time when like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter. About anything. It's very political. It's who you know at some point. So dealing with this youth basketball, you get a lot of people around that only look at the kids that are good that can help them now. You know what I mean?
Like the elite talent.
Elite. So then you start to see the ones that really, want to play. Like you can't tell me a kid in second grade is elite. Like still in second grade,
Right.
A lot of things can happen on the way. Now you can keep working hard and doing this, and there's going to be kids who are working hard from second grade, and these parents or people are bringing these kids in and trying to go, and then there's going to be a time where that kid may not grow, or that kid may not get better, or that kid may stop liking basketball, and then what happens then? Then you got to put your focus onto someone else, and it's these kids, and then there's, at the same time there's a second grader or a third grader who doesn't really know the game, and by the time he's in 7th or 8th grade, he starts playing. You give him attention like you would anybody else. He can be changed. Not even in basketball. He might do something else. But it's gonna be. It feels good. Like, and even to this day, I've had kids. I started doing it in 2013. I got kids who graduated who come back like, hey man, like what you said to me was real, coach.
Yes.
Like this, and it's like I can only say it because I lived it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of these parents and people that got around that they didn't live it. Like they just seen what they can do now to help your child or to help anyone, but it's a bigger picture, you know.
Yes.
Life can bring you anywhere, and so I just don't want to leave no one out. I don't see myself leaving nobody. I feel like I can make anybody learn how to play basketball. Just like Jay-Z said, I could sell salt to a slug. Like I could train anybody how to teach. Y'all just bring them to me. I could teach them. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Yeah, and people always say, well, how much? And it's like, man, we'll get to that later.
Hey,
like we'll get to that money later. Like I don't like right now. Just bring him, see what he's like, and see what I could do to change. See if this is even what he wants to do. Because at the same time, when they come, I kind of let them know, like, hey, this. Like you got to know what you're eye contact with the coach. Like my high school coach showed me that, like eye contact. Like there's little things that you can do no matter how good you are that can make you not make a team, or that can make you get on a coach's bad side. It's not all about basketball. You know what I mean? And I feel like this youth basketball kind of gives a little bit of bad habits sometimes. And I'm just trying to make it, where, it's kind of a even playing field.
Yes, sir. I love the concept of character development because it's bigger than basketball, as you've said. It's not just, hey, I'm just trying to teach you a skill, or I'm just trying to teach you an athletic skill, or coordination. But this is bigger. This is about who you are, your relationships, the way you interact, the way you carry yourself as a person. That speaks to it being bigger than just a game.
Right.
I love what you're doing, and I want to make sure that even the parents tuning in who have their children and are thinking about what to do, or thinking about, or even if they have doubts about their children. Can their children play? Are they gifted? Are they talented? Are they elite status? Should they even try? I think your brand and what you're doing is a great outreach to the parents. It's fulfilling a need, and it gives we know there's power and beauty in and of itself in exercise. But then how you're taking it up a notch is a beautiful thing. I know we're wrapping up time. So one, I'll tell you this. I had such a great time with you being here. I'm energized. I'm like, I want to go do something. I want to be like your grandpa. I want to be a lion like him. So I will say this, recorded, that you're always welcome. So I think there's so much we have to unpack. I think what you and I talked about, I think there's so many great stories we could talk about from your grandpa, his legacy. We could talk about dealing with parents in this space because it's unique. People are different. They can be challenging.
Right.
So I think we get there's a lot more content that you and I can discuss that I think people can learn from and grow from. The last thing maybe we'll touch on is it is this week. Lion King's coming out.
Yeah.
So I know you have the LionLife brand. You got Lion King. So is that something you're planning to go see?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Thursday, I'm gonna be out there watching. They got the kids coming. Yeah.
Kids and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have to cancel basketball practice, or how did
Well,
that work?
I'm gonna go watch it after.
Afterward?
Yeah. I can't cancel practice, but it'll be after. I set it for after.
Okay, well, good. Well, again, thanks for hopping on the show. It means a lot to get some of your time and to learn from your journey and to share your journey so people are able to apply some of these principles to their lives.
Man, I appreciate you even having me, man. It's a blessing.
All right. So if you're tuning in, like the podcast, share it, subscribe to it, so that you'll get a chance to hear more content like this, premium content to elevate you in your journey. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you.
Thank you.